have with me one of the most precious gifts I have ever received in my life. I've never believed that I've never actually believed that I would get the opportunity to have somebody with me of this stature, somebody of this caliber, somebody who has played for Manchester United. Today I have with me Mr. Alan Tonge, who was Sir Alex's one of the first signings, and who is presently a sports psychologist at the university at the UCFB. Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
It is a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. So, how are you holding up? How is coronavirus and all these pandemic things going on at your place?
Yeah, it's been a tough time, Arpan, hasn't it, for everybody? It's been really difficult, since Christmas time. The last sort of 4 or 5 months have kind of been a real strange, weird time for many people. Lots of downtime, lockdowns and things like that, things that we'd never even dreamed that we'd be facing. So I'm just hoping now and keeping fingers crossed that we're out of the worst of it, and hopefully, we can move on and get some better times ahead.
Absolutely, I agree to that. And football is back, Project Restart, and Man United are back with a bang. With Bruno Fernandes and all the entire team playing really well. Although lately we have not performed up to our expectations of the fans. But I'm pretty sure tomorrow's match is going to be extremely crucial. What is your take on that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like we've put ourselves in maybe a more difficult situation than maybe we should have done. Really, I think it all started with a late equaliser against Southampton, which was really disappointing at Old Trafford. So that was 2 points, arguably, that we dropped. And then, obviously, we went into the semi-final half, and that was really disappointing. We never got going. We never turned up on the day. And then the other night, West Ham, again, really struggled. Looked a bit tired, a bit laboured. Managed to get a point, which has took us into third place. So, yes, it is in our hands. We've still got a great chance of finishing top 4, but it just puts a little bit more added pressure on the game tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think the last match, the players looked really laboured. They're like, it actually showed on their faces, on the body language. I think throughout the match, I didn't see Rashford attempting a single dribble, which is which is by his standards outrageous. I don't know when did the last time something like this happened. I agree to you. Who is your standout player for the season? Who do you think is going to be the standout player?
Well, I think that since Fernandes has arrived, and I think he's changed it all around, hasn't he? I know we kind of like had a really, really disappointing result against Burnley just before we sort of broke up and went into lockdown. I think we lost on Old Trafford 2-0, and I was at that game, and I remember coming away afterwards and thinking to myself, he's in a bit of trouble here, Ole. We're not really getting anywhere. But since then, we've managed to go on a bit of a run. I think it was something like we went about 19 games unbeaten until Chelsea. So we've been on a great run. We've took ourselves up into the sort of third place in the league. So the standout player for me, who's made this all happen, has been Bruno Fernandes. He seems to have come in and really linked all the players together. He's a playmaker. He creates things. It gives opportunities then for Marshall, Rashford, Greenwood to sort of get the run sorted out, because that midfielder like Scholesy in the sort of the 90s and the 2000s, they're going to find you. So if you make the right runs, he'll be looking all the time. So I think he's been a massive protagonist, as it were, in getting us moving again. So he's been a cracking signing. Also, just mentioned him there, Arpan, just briefly. Greenwood's been a brilliant find as well, hasn't he? A lot of lads who watch United on a regular basis and who follow the youths and the reserves, the under 23s. They've been kind of talking about this lad for a few years, and it's very, very hard to come through the youth team and then step up into the first team environment. But he's probably one of the most natural finishers and goal scorers that a lot of people have seen for a long time coming through United's academy. So if you're taking little things like this, it gives us hopefully a brilliant opportunity to build on this and hopefully challenge again. Because we're Man United, we should be up near the top. We should be challenging for titles. Should be challenging for Champions Leagues, FA Cups. All right, we got to the semi-final. That was a bit of a disappointment, but we're United. We don't want to be falling. We don't want to be 30 years before we're picking up another title. That's what happened to Liverpool. So we don't want that. We want to be challenging, and hopefully if those players can sort of maybe get a couple more in over the transfer window, and then there's no excuses and not to be challenging and giving it, going all guns blazing next season.
Absolutely. On a couple of things you mentioned right now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Mason Greenwood. I'll start from Mason Greenwood. So you have played with Giggs. You have seen the class of 92 up close and personal. And you're seeing Mason Greenwood and you're speaking very highly of him. Now, I know it is going to be a very unfair comparison between the class of 92 and Mason Greenwood. It would put him under a lot of pressure. But what do you think? Like Mason Greenwood, if he would have been in that class of 92, who would he have been able to cut to the first team?
Yeah, well, I'm a great believer. I think if you're a good player, I think you can play in any era. That's my opinion. That's my views. I think the difference between Mason and Ryan was more. I think Ryan had more trickery and maybe more pace than Mason. Mason's a real special box player. If you look at him when he gets around the penalty area, he's got a little trick that he just works it onto his left foot and he can create quick chances for himself, and he's just so naturally, every opportunity he gets in the box, you think he's got half a chance of scoring. The difference, I think, between Mason and Ryan is Ryan was very, very predominantly left-footed, whereas Mason can go either way. He can score goals with his left or his right foot, and that's quite remarkable. So I think that if you can be a good two-footed player, it gives you real opportunities to create stuff and hopefully score plenty of goals. So a lot of people are talking about Greenwood at the moment as though he's got a real chance now of going on and doing really, really special things in the game.
Absolutely. Now I'll take you back towards the memory lane just for a short amount of time. I would like to ask you, how does it feel to be in that environment, in that kind of structure with Sir Alex Ferguson at the helm? I think you were the first player he signed from the academy.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was great, and to be honest with you, I never really thought much about it at the time. It's only when you've come out of it and you look back and you think, you did okay. I got off to a good start. I managed to play in the reserves at 16 years old, which is that was quite good at the time. I played in a good youth side. We won youth titles. We went and won a prestigious tournament in Italy, which was fantastic. But I think we were just kind of in the midst of the rebuild since Fergie had came. So I joined in '86, and Sir Alex didn't win his first trophy till 1990. So I think he was just trying to get things established, and I think what made it difficult for us is back then there was only small squads in the first. So you was only, when mid-80s it was only one substitute, and then it went to two substitutes. So if you can think that you've got a big squad of say 25 players, you're fighting for those 13 places, which is really difficult. So yeah, it was enjoyable. I had some, I was very, very lucky to play with some really good players, which is is great memories for me. And I think I just feel really, really honoured to have represented and played for Manchester United, albeit on a small scale. But very proud, and all my family are United fans. So it was good times. But like anything else, I think you need a bit of luck. You need an opportunity, and unfortunately, I just didn't quite get into that regular first team environment, which is so crucial. And I had to sort of move and look for to push my career on, a bit further down. So I went to Exeter City after that, who played in the equivalent of League One at the time. So good times up on looking back. I mean, I always say I'm a United fan first and a player second. You know, I'm a fan because I followed United. My dad's a massive fan, so we're really interested in the the 60s stuff. Bestie, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law. You know, I remember watching the cup finals when I was a young lad. You know, seeing Norman Whiteside scoring 85, the winner against Everton. And then appearing in other cup finals, Brighton in '83. So I was a United supporter. So to get the opportunity to play alongside some of those lads like Brian Robson, Norman Whiteside, Brian McClare, Steve Bruce, Dennis Irwin, Paul McGrath, Gordon Strachan, it's fantastic. And then to get the opportunity as well to play with like Ryan Giggs, Mark Bosnich, the goalkeeper. There were some really good players there at the time that certainly stood out, and I was really privileged and honoured.
Absolutely. You mentioned Exeter City. I remember, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I am. Alan Ball was your manager at Exeter.
Yeah.
So I've heard. I was reading some of your things, some of your articles, and he was a pretty strong man himself. Now, we are all pretty much acquainted with the hair dry treatment of Sir Alex. Can you draw some similarity between Sir Alex and Alan Ball?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, and I think Alan Ball is he won the World Cup, which is there's not a lot of players who've got World Cup winners' medals, and Ball had done that. So, but yeah, I think Sir Alex, because of the standards are very, very high. If he and Alan Ball didn't feel that you were meeting those standards, they'd certainly let you know about it. And it was, a ruthless, a harsh culture, whatever you want to call it. But that's the way it is in a lot of football, because ultimately it's about winning. And if you're not winning, your jobs are on the line and stuff like that. And the management, the manager's head is called for. They're ultimately in the firing line. So if they feel as though you're not giving them what they're after, they can lose their temper. But it's all for good. It's all in a positive way. And Fergie, absolutely raging. Like I say, I think Mark Hughes termed it the hairdryer, as you said, Arpam. But Bally very similar as well. He can sort of lose his temper as well. But he says you've got to listen to these guys. They've done it at the top level, so you've got to learn from them. And that's the way. If you get told off, hopefully you learn from it and you don't do it again. So
absolutely. I remember actually reading about one of the Devon derbies when you were actually asked to mark Warren Joyce.
That's right.
You guys catch up and talk about it right now.
Well, I think what Bowley used to do is he used to say to me quite a bit like, we've got a tough game coming up, and he always they don't do it in a lot of modern football. Maybe this is a little bit of like sort of 90s stuff, but I think that Bowley used to say, we're going to mark man for man. I think United might have done it. I remember Phil Neville maybe being given the job once on Patrick Vieira of Arsenal, and I've seen it on occasion where you might get Herrera saying, right, I want you to follow David Silva all over the place, and you don't let him out your sight. And all it's for tactically, Arpan, is just to nullify the troublemaker from their side, to take out their best player. So unlike in the Devon derby, like Warren Joyce, who was like an old coach at United, Bowley had said, like, I want you to follow him all over the place and you don't let him out of your sight. So I followed the instructions. I just kicked him all over the place for 90 minutes, and I was very fortunate. A few years ago, we went to Carrington to have a look round. They invited the Ex-Players Association to go and have a look at the new training ground, or the sort of updated train, because we was all used to the cliff, you see. And I saw Warren was in like one of the changing rooms, and I reminded him, said, do you remember like Plymouth? I said, Ball, said that you were the danger man for Plymouth, and he said, I've still got the scars on my calves and that, on my ankles. So, but yeah, we did well, and we won 2-0. So whatever Ball spotted in that situation.
Absolutely.
Because I see it a lot, especially over the last sort of 5 or 10 years when Stevie Gerrard was playing for Liverpool. A lot of stuff that happened used to go through him. And I used to say often, why don't they go man for man, Gerrard? Because if you can take the big player out, you've got half a chance of doing something around them. It's just to disrupt their flow. But you don't see a lot of that in modern football now. from a tactical perspective, like man-to-man marking. It's just not doesn't seem to be part of the agenda for coaches.
Absolutely, I think that a lot has changed in football as a whole from the time when you used to play. Now, I wanted to know about how did you actually manage two huge setbacks.
Yeah.
Getting deselected from Manchester United. Second, at 24, at the peak of your prowess, at the peak of your age, you had that injury. Can you walk us through that again?
Yeah, it was tough. I'd come to the end of my apprenticeship at United, and they said to me that they'll give me 1 year pro deal. Right, brilliant. So I was a United fan. I didn't know anything any different. There was no agents about back then to fight your corner for you. So it was almost happened. Give us the pen, I'm signing. You know, you're almost realising a dream of being a pro for United. So fantastic. So at the end of that year, Ferguson and Sir Alex called me in and said, we don't think as though you're going to be a regular first team player. So it'd probably be in your best interest if you know who's to move on. So that was tough because I've been at the club since I was 14. It's like 5 seasons, so that was hard. And I think from a support perspective, it's like you just sort of said, yeah, all the best, cheers. You walk out the training ground and that's kind of it. So that was really disappointing. And as you say, I was just getting my career moving again. I was playing in the first year at Exeter, and unfortunately I suffered a really bad back injury. I had to have screws and plates in my spine. So I tried to come back. I trained and I worked hard and I went through all my rehab. But the surgeon said to me, I don't think we're going to recommend it. And it was not from a you maybe couldn't have give it a go, but it was more psychological as well, because I didn't want anybody kneeing me in the back if I was going up for a header in the area, so there was that fear. So at 24, like you said, you're just kind of thinking, well, I'm still very young, really. What can I do next? I just got totally lost for a few years after that. I didn't know what to do. Football had been my life for a long time. I went through a series of different jobs. And then I think I made the best decision I ever made at 28. I went back to university to do a degree in sports science. And since then, I've done that, trained to be a lecturer, like a teacher. I've picked up different qualifications along the way. So instead of putting all my energies into football and the football environment, I just tried to find a means of diverting that energy into something else, which was my education. So I think that I will always say, from a footballer's perspective, you just never know when it's going to be over. That's the danger. And I would always advise to any young player, any young pro, always have a plan B just in case. Hopefully you'll go on to have a fantastic career, 500, 600 games, but ultimately you're going to have to transition at some stage. You're going to have to come out of football and look for something else to do. So I would always say that it's crucial from the different stakeholders, maybe the clubs, the PFA. There's a lot of different organisations now who do a lot of work on this, which is brilliant to see. And it just helps that transition become a little bit easier than making it a really hard one. Absolutely.
So let me ask you a very something on your. It's been 16 years you've been a lecturer.
That's right.
Yeah. So how does it actually feel? What role exactly do you play when you're actually at the podium giving a lecture?
Yeah, so we cover all sorts of stuff really, and we look at different aspects of football. I've got a couple of modules where we look at football management, like the skills and the qualities that current football managers have. So not only can I draw from some of the theory around that, around things like decision making and showing courage and honesty and creating a culture, I can draw from some little bits of personal experience as well. So it's quite a nice fit. And my particular research interests are around how players cope with psychological challenges in the game. So that was what my masters and the PhD that I've just sort of completed was based around. It was looking at how footballers can manage themselves better on a daily basis within the football clubs that they're operating at. Because ultimately, in a football club, challenges come all the time. You can go in and out of form, you can get left out, you can suffer with injury, you can suffer with poor relationships with the manager, you can suffer with poor relationships with your teammates. and there's a whole raft of different things. Social media's boomed. You know, a lot of players get slagged off now on social media. So I was interested in finding out how players like cope best with this and how they could deal with it in the best manner in order to stay in the game and ultimately try and reach the potential and become a top player. So a lot of my research is around that. So at UCFB where I work, every third year who comes in may have some ideas of doing some research in that area. So I would supervise them through. So I might get a little handful of students who want to look at that particular area, and we'll try and design a bit of research that they can carry out that'll add to the knowledge that we already know about that.
Absolutely. That sounds very intriguing. That sounds very interesting, and that is very fresh. Something that has not been done in footballing, because football has changed psychologically. It has changed a lot with the advent of social media. You're getting the racial abuse that the players are going through at the moment is unreal. It's unthinkable. Something. Did you guys used to have similar experiences when you used to travel or used to play?
The only thing that we really had to deal with, Arpan, was the crowd. You know, that crowd. But to be honest with you, you didn't really hear a lot of that because you were too entrenched in the game. You were too focused in the game. A lot of Manchester United footballers have their own social media accounts, and even now, you go on. I don't know how much notice they take of social media. I know some of the players are on it quite a bit, but I noticed before, just an hour ago, Marcus Rashford had been watching the cricket. England are playing the West Indies, and he'd said, "Come on, Jofra Archer," or something like that, or let's go, or something. And you read the thread after that, and it's just like not abusive, but it's everybody chipping in. Everybody's a manager or a coach on there. Marcus, you should be focused on the game. Marcus, what are you watching that for? Marcus, why aren't you resting? Marcus, you should be concentrating. You know, and it's like, I don't know if they do take notice of you, it's like it can cause like negative thinking in yourself, and that negative thinking could cause a waste of energy that you don't need, and it, you know, it can sort of linger on you. So, and I know in the past, and I know Man United players have set social media accounts up, and they've only lasted 5 minutes on there. I think going back a few seasons, I think Tom Cleverley set one up when he was at United in midfield, and he deactivated it within a day because of all the abuse he was getting. So I think social media is really good in some aspects, but really bad in others. So I think it's really useful to get news out there, but there's still a lot of like negativity and real abuse. You know, to this day, you mentioned before, Arpan, about, you know, racial abuse, sexual abuse. It's still rife, and I think Twitter, Instagram, they've got to look at this in a bit more of a deeper manner, because if you're setting an account up, really you should have to provide maybe evidence that it's your, so if there's any abuse tweeted or pictures or anything like that, they know who's done it, and it can be like apprehended straight away. I think there's still a lot of anonymous accounts on there who still find pleasure in really having a go at people and posting some horrible stuff. So I think that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. Coming from India, a really cricket-loving nation, Jofra Archer is some young lad. He's playing really well, and for Marcus Rashford, another young lad who is also doing well, not just on the field but also off the field. I think backing these people up, backing another sportsman up, is I don't see any problem in that. But since people have to comment on something, people have to make it evident that they're also using the social media, and it gives them the feeling of reaching that celebrity on the same platform where your message can actually be read by the celebrity. There's a chance that that person might actually take notice of you. I think that is the reason people are doing similar these kind of things. But racial and sexual abuse is something I absolutely do not understand. Have you? What has been your most bitter memory when it comes to social media, or have you had it?
Yeah, I think everybody's had it. I think everybody's had some level of like banter or something, or you know, you often get like people saying that, you've done nothing in the game, which I am. I'm not here to say I didn't. Unfortunately, my injury done me. I'm quite well aware of that, but I think that I've managed to go on to other things now. I mean, like I say, I'm a fan. My football days have I had a go at that. I managed to play league football, which was a sort of a goal of mine when I set off. I managed to score in the football league, which was a goal of mine before I set off. I managed to play with some really good players. So I've got some great memories, and there is disappointment and I would have liked to have done more, of course, but at the end of the day, destiny, it didn't work out, and I had to look for something else to do. So, and like you correctly said, I've been teaching 16 years. I'm going into my 17th year of teaching, so I've managed to sort of formulate another career to move on into. So and the great thing about football is I'm lucky enough to do a little bit of work on the radio here and there as well. I've done some stuff with Radio Manchester. I've done some stuff with Radio Devon for Exeter City. So I really enjoy that. So my football side now, like I was saying to you earlier about the Ex-Players Association, it's only like on a very small area. My main focus now is helping students and getting young people through degrees and elder people, of course. We have a lot of mature students on our programme, so that's my sort of role, and making sure that I get the correct support and the right support and guidance to them guys. And one of the best parts of lecturing is seeing people do well. It might not be immediately, it might be in a few years where you see somebody and they say, oh, I'm working as a performance analyst now at Fleetwood Town Football Club. Oh, brilliant. I'm working as a sports psychologist now at Bolton Wanderers. Or you hear some brilliant tales, which is fantastic. And like I said, that's one of the best parts of my role. So yes, dipping into the football a little bit, but my main sort of priorities now is helping young people and strive to get better.
Yes, absolutely. Alan, there are a lot of questions coming in from our friends and fans. So I'll like to shoot them towards you, and just have to do me a favor.
Yeah.
What is your all-time first 11?
Ooh, that's a tough question, isn't it? I think with Man United, you could name probably 5. You could name 55 players here, and what a tournament that'd be, But some of the greats, obviously Sir Bobby, Dennis Law, Duncan Edwards. You could name right back to the Busby Babes, 80s lads. Even 70s like little Lou Macari, Sammy McElroy, into Norman Whiteside, Brian Robson. It's just legends all over the place, and that's the romanticist of me coming out like United. You could spend hours doing that, picking a best 11, but
and you'll still end up nowhere.
Oh no, well, Giggsy again in it, wouldn't he? I would have thought maybe. But see, this is it. You say with Giggsy again because you've kind of got you've got to get around Cantona and Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Robbo. Who do you fit in that midfield? Duncan Edwards has got to try and come in somewhere. So that's a brilliant question. That's maybe something we can think about, maybe after this. And like I say, you could probably name about 5 11s.
Yeah, we can name like 55 players, and that has a lot to do with the academy. So coming to another question from since we're speaking about the academy, the academy back in '92 or the academy now, which one? Since you mentioned that the Cliff has moved to our Carrington, and
that's right.
Is it the same, or do you see any notable changes in the system?
I think there's been a big change. I think the culture when I come through was a lot harsher. We had lots of jobs to do up and after training, so it's all to do with trying to keep you grounded, really. So we had to sweep the dressing rooms, clean up all the kit, clean the showers, clean the toilets, scrub out the baths, pump up make sure all the balls are pumped up for training. Make sure all the bibs are right. If you didn't, if the first team lads said some of our balls hadn't been pumped up, you might have to do a forfeit. So back then a forfeit could be, I don't know, you might get, it sounds crazy this, but this is what happened. You might get caked head to toe in polish, or like boot polish. You might get like you had to do. Ryan Giggs always says he had to chat to, like a mop that cleans the floor. So you had to turn the mop upside down, so like the head was like a sort of somebody's hair, and chat up a girl like you're in a nightclub or something like that in front of all the other players. At Christmas time, we had to go in front of all the first team players and do like an act or sing a song or do a pantomime or pretend that you're some of like Sir Alex or Archie Knox, who was the assistant, or Eric Harrison. You had to like pretend you were them and do their accents, and so that was pretty terrifying. So I think all that went not long after the class of '92, and they changed and going, fast forwarding right into the present day with the EPPP coming in, like the elite player performance pathway. There's lots of different things in there that kind of like you don't have to clean boots anymore, and it's a lot more. I think a lot more gentle now. I think a lot more. There's more professionalism in the game. And sports science has increased. There's performance analysis now. All we had was the coach Eric Harrison telling you what to do. So yeah, the game's changed incredibly. And yeah, just another one before we move on. Nutrition has unbelievably changed. On a Friday dinner at the Cliff, we had a game on Saturday morning. The diet would be something like pie and chips or sausage and chips for dinner, whereas now it's all about carbohydrates and pastas and fruit and vegetables. Everything's weighed, etc. So the game's come on tremendous leaps and bounds since I was kind of in it, and it'll hopefully continue to do that as well.
I just want you to. I think my somewhere the sound is having some problems. I just turn my AirPods on.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Arpon.
Yeah. Sorry for that. I'm
no
really
problem
sorry for that. Yeah. So back to where we are.
Yeah. So just say, I don't know if you picked up the nutrition one. Did you get all that information? When okay. I was kind of like in the sort of
no, I don't think I did.
Right on Friday dinners at the Cliff, we used to have sausage and chips and fish and chips for dinner, and there was a game Saturday morning. So as you can imagine, like all that was lying heavy on your stomach. Whereas it is mad to think. And we used to have like chocolate, all grease and chocolate sponge and custard for afters as well. If you had to play a game Saturday morning. So in relation to the science and the performance analysts and all the technology now, it's incredibly changed over this last 20-25 years since the EPPP coming. It's changed an incredible amount, and hopefully our panel will keep changing for the better.
Absolutely, that is so the PPP. Do you think that the science, there is a lot of science involved at this point of time, do you think that the science introduction of so much of science, the VAR and so many analytics coming into play, has it made the sport somewhat easier, or has it made it more difficult for players to perform, to come up with new things?
Yeah, I think I don't know, what you think of it, Arpan, but there is positives to it in the fact that you get, your decisions are sort of like, even though it's ridiculously cruel sometimes, where it might be a toenail offside, but the idea is to try and help the officials. But in relation to flow of the games and stopping and starting and stuff like that, I think it's disrupted it, and you'll get your people who say, well, there's a lot of money in football now and the decisions have got to be correct. But you'll get a lot of fans saying, we used to enjoy talking about those, was it offside, wasn't it offside, after the games and things like that, and the debates that you could have about it. And I think the one worry for me is just the disruption, really, and it stops players sort of like, they celebrate goal and then, we're going to VAR, and I think the thing about it, Arpan, is it's brilliant when it goes for you and a goal's disallowed or a goal's allowed, whatever, but it's horrible when it's against you. We've had a couple, haven't we? Yeah, we've had a couple over this last sort of couple of weeks that have been tight. But ultimately, that's the idea, is to try and clean the game up in relation to the officiating and getting decisions accurate.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it plays a huge role into see, everybody's playing the same game, right? If before there was no VAR, now there's a VAR for everybody. So everybody's going through the system, and everybody has to accept it. Coming to the United way of football, since we were talking about that, I'd like to ask you a semi-controversial question. Do you think Ole is doing a good job?
Yeah, I think it's took time. I think it's difficult. I think since Sir Alex packed in 2013, I think we found it hard. I think some of the managers that we've had have not been Man United managers, and David Moyes didn't last very long. They brought Louis van Gaal in. Again, some of the football was a bit boring. Then they turned to what a lot of the supporters wanted, Jose Mourinho. Arguably, he should have maybe come in 2013. Jose picked up a trophy or two for us, but again, probably the fans were against that. He wasn't really a youth person, or he wasn't really a manager that would rely on youths. But it's took time, and I think Ole coming in has got the right values. He's got experience of the club at the top level. He's played under Sir Alex, the greatest. He's brought Mickey Phelan, who's fantastic as well. Mickey's got a lot of experience, and I think in time they'll do it. I think it's just football's ridiculous, and you don't know if you're going to get the time or not. And I think we've seen signs over this last 18 months that Ole's doing a good job. He's moved a few players on. He's brought a few players in. You know, he's still putting his mark on it. And I think given a bit of time, for me, I think we'll be okay under him. I think we'll do all right. I think he'll get us back challenging again. So it's quite controversial. I know I put a poll on Twitter the other day on social media in relation to those fans supporting Ole, and I think a lot since we've been on the run are saying now that about 80-85% are happy with what he's doing. There's still this little minute group that are still let's get Pochettino in, let's get this in, and nah, for me, give Ole a bit of time, give him the right support and backing over this transfer window. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get top four tomorrow, and then we can build on that. The season, Garpan's going to kick in very quick. We're beginning the 12th of September, so United, after the Europa League experiences, I think we're only going to get 22 days rest or something, 3 weeks, and then we're back into it again. So
absolutely, yeah.
So hopefully we can do something. It's going to be difficult. We know Liverpool top side, City top side. It's going to be hard, but we've got to keep believing, and we're Man United. They keep saying that, and we should be at the top of the table. That's the way it goes. That's what the fans demand.
Absolutely, and we also demand a few transfers.
So
who do you want to see next season?
Well, we've been talking. Sancho's been on the radar for a little bit, hasn't he? Jadon Sancho from Dortmund. I think he's a top player. Started off at City as a youngster. Made a massive decision for the bet that worked out best for himself to go to Dortmund and try and progress himself, which he's done. He's got into the England side. He's young, he's fresh, he's hungry. So I think he'd be a good addition. The only stumbling block for Jadon, I think, is going to be the fee. You know, he's probably going to be in the region of maybe 115, 120 million here. So that's a lot of cash. But if he's going to make a difference and he's going to try and, you know, push you towards winning titles and things like that, I think it'd be really useful. Other names, I think we need a centre half in. That's my humble opinion. We've tried a few pairings. I think somebody needs to get alongside Harry Maguire. I think Lindelof's done really well. Eric Bailly comes in and out. I think Eric has had real misfortune with injuries, which is really sad. I'm not too sure who would be maybe looking. I know that is it. Kubai has been sort of mentioned that maybe could come and play in there, but that could be an opportunity there for maybe to bring someone like that in. And I think maybe, I don't know, it's just looking at the squad and trying to get the right fits, isn't it? It's not all about playing ability. You've got to get the right personalities in there as well, because we've spent a hell of a lot of money over this last 7 years since Sir Alex left on players that have not really worked out. You know, it's some of the recruitment has been really poor. So I think Ole will be having his eye on that as well, and just make sure that we're getting good value for money and making sure that they're the right fit when they come in. or else you spend a hell of a lot of money on and they don't work out. Angel Di Maria was a kind of like he come as we thought he was going to be a superstar, and he just didn't settle in Manchester. No, it didn't work out. Sancho, unbelievable at Arsenal. Sanchez, sorry, unbelievable at Arsenal. Comes to United, just doesn't look the same player. And again, a lot of wages. What they say, possibly about 400, 500 grand a week wages. Like, it's incredible. So we've got to try and get this right.
Absolutely. And another person who has been in and out of the news lately, David De Gea, number one. And Dean Henderson is doing really well under Chris Wilder. Who do you want to see? See, the thing is, David has been a standout player for a long time, but
Yeah, David De Gea's had over 400 games for us now. So just because he's had a bit of a wobble over this last 18 months, I'd say, which is unusual for him because looking at some of the stuff he's done for us has been incredible. Absolutely. He's pulled off some unbelievable saves, and sometimes football's very cruel. You're only as good as your last game. If you have a keeper who's making errors, sometimes you need that bit of loyalty and that somebody just to back you. If you throw people under the bus, that can be a bit unfortunate. So I think he'll be all right. Maybe an opportunity there for someone to maybe do a little bit of work with David, try and get his confidence back up again, and just sort of have a chat with him about off-field stuff as well. It could be something that's off the field that's impacting on his game. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Arpan could be something to do with his family, could be his girlfriend, wife. It could be something to do with maybe his sleeping pattern. Anything that you can identify that'll help him, get back to where he was. But the semi-final, a couple of the goals there were really disappointing. But unfortunately, when you're a goalkeeper and you make those errors, chances are you're going to get punished. A centre forward could miss loads of chances and score one in the last minute and become a hero. A goalkeeper misses a couple, he's a villain. So it's a really, really interesting position when you're playing goal. There's no hiding place for you.
Absolutely. Now, Rashford, coming back to the psychological side of things, if you see Rashford and Luke Shaw has been really injury prone. He has been in and out of the medical team. The medical team has done a lot of work on him. He looks very good when he plays, but he gets injured very soon. So do you think that this injury, this prone to injury thing has set him back to something else? And do you think that the same can happen to Marcus Rashford as well?
Yeah, well, injuries unfortunately are a big part of football, and if you think of Luke Shaw, a number of seasons ago, he had an injury where he could have potentially finished his career in a European game. Had a double leg break, and it took him like 18 months to get back again. And I've got the utmost respect for players like that, because ultimately it's not an easy journey coming back. There's loads of time you've got to spend in the gym on your own, lots of things you've got to do on your own, lots of swimming, lots of rehab, lots of weights, lots of running, and that's even before you get back on a football again. And it's not just the physical stuff as well, and it's about the psychological side, getting stuck in again, going in for tackles. That's huge. So I've got massive respect for Luke Shaw. But over this last season now, Brandon Williams has emerged as a bit of a threat to him. So that's maybe been a good thing, because it's maybe, in elite level players, you're probably thinking, well, Brandon's really good footballer. Yeah. So it's healthy competition. And I think Pep Guardiola said this once at City. You should have maybe 2 players for each position who are quality, because you can work off each other then, and then ultimately it's about proving your worth in training and working hard. So you're right. Luke Shaw's had injury trouble. Marcus has had his back problem. He had a stress fracture in his back that he's had to battle back from and come through. So anybody who kind of like has a bad injury and battles back and gets back to full fitness, they've got like massive ticks in the box for me, because ultimately that takes a lot of character and determination and courage to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, if you do not know, Jadon Sancho, Phil Foden, and all these Ryan Brewster, all these young lads, they came to India in 2017 when England won the World Cup, under 17 World Cup, and we have a good crop of players as well. We have a good crop of players who are trying to make it to the biggest stage. So, do you have any little bits of information on how they can look at it? How, because English Premier League is the toughest league, and if we can get some bits of advice from you to how to understand the game.
Yeah, well, it's the Premier League at the top level of football is tough. It's getting harder and harder. You know, football since the early 90s, since the Premier League arrived, is awash with money now. So ultimately, your top six sides, you're sort of like your Man Cities, your Liverpool, your Man United, your Spurs, your Arsenal. They can buy players that are worth millions, and you know it's getting harder and harder for juniors, academy players, youngsters to break into the first team squad. The good thing with Man United is 99% of the time they'll give young players a chance if they're good enough. You know, you can see that over this last period. And I know it was kind of a bit of a sort of a second team that they sent out, but they sent it nevertheless, and that was over to play Astana when they put all the young players in, and they give about 8 or 9 debuts. So the opportunities will be there. I think Ole, like a lot of the previous managers, of Sir Alex especially, will believe in youth players because they won't ultimately, you know, they won't let you down. They'll give you their all for the badge, which is you know, that's a massive tick. So in relation to other players breaking through, I think all you can do is just enjoy your football, Arpan, and just see where it takes you. Just work as hard as you can. Enjoy your game. Just give it your all every time you play. Because I say this to my son as well. You just never know who's watching you. I was saying to my son last night about like the Jamie Vardy situation. He had to drop down out of professional football to a team a few leagues below the Football League called Stocksbridge Park Steels, and then he kind of like from there he played for like a couple of non-league teams, and then he got picked up by Fleetwood, and then he got picked up by Leicester City, and then he made it into the England side. So never, if enjoy your football and never ever think that you can't get higher and play higher, because you just never know when scouts are watching all the time, and that's kind of the best advice I can give, really.
Absolutely, that was great coming from you. That I think that would really help a lot of players. So Alan, tomorrow is the last game. If we win, we reach Champions League. If we draw, we reach Champions League. If Chelsea lose, we go to Champions League. So what are your predictions?
Well, it's like I said earlier. I think that we've made it a bit harder for themselves. We've put a bit of pressure on this game tomorrow that didn't need to be there. My only worry is the mentality of a draw will do us. That's my only worry, because the longer the game goes on, and it's like 0-0 or 1-1 or 2-1, whatever the conditions are, we'll be panicking a bit, because the last 10-15 minutes, if you're drawing and Leicester need to find a goal, you know, that's going to be like heart in the mouth stuff. I'm confident. I wouldn't say I'm magnificently confident that we're going to do it, but I'm optimistically confident. We've got ourselves into a good position. We're in third place, so all we need to do tomorrow, simple, is just find a performance. You know, and it wouldn't surprise me after the disappointment of West Ham in the week that we went tomorrow and blew Leicester away. That's typical United. We always do it the hard way. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. For either the point that we need, or even better, we put it to bed and we go and beat Leicester, say 2-0, something like that.
Absolutely, that is great. I'm really feeling hopeful. It was great catching up with you, Alan. And I'd like to tell you that it was one of the most important days of my life to have a chat with you. I'm really honored. Thank you for having this discussion with me. And yes, I think we'll have to disconnect today. But I would like to have you again, because our fans, they're like, I can see the the messages that are coming to me, they want to see you again. So
Yeah.
just a small note of goodbye to the fans who are watching.
Yeah, just keep following United, the biggest club in the world, the best club in the world, the greatest club in the world. You know, full of romance, full of history. You know, every time I go to Old Trafford, I always get a special thrill. Every time I see the ground, the hairs on my arms stand up. It's amazing, and I don't think there's any club in world football has that we do. So keep supporting them, keep believing, never give up, because that's a massive part of Man United. You know, we had a team in '58 that possibly would have been one of the greatest teams of all time, taken away, wiped out, and to come back from that and build from that, unbelievable club. So just to the fans, yeah, keep following and keep believing, because we are the best around.
Thank you so much for your time, Alan. Glory, Man United.
Thank you, Arpan, and it's my honour to come on and speak to you. Not your honour, my honour. So thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Arpan.